Well, welcome to Postgrad Podcast. It's my pleasure to welcome Sam Goh, who's a newly appointed faculty member at the Brisbane School of Theology, but has come to us from the Singapore Bible College. Welcome, Sam.
Hi.
Now, that's a fascinating transition to come from Singapore to Brisbane. Which is the hotter country?
The Singapore, definitely.
Yeah, even hotter than Brisbane.
Hotter than Brisbane depends. I think Brisbane is hotter in summer.
In summer.
That's right.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's terrific that it's amazing, really, that we can welcome you to our college. But your life story has taken you to many countries, indeed many continents. So I'd be interested if you could tell us a little bit about your pathway from Indonesia through to Singapore Bible College, of course, via the United States, even Belfast. So tell us a little about where you grew up.
Well, I was born and grew up in Indonesia. I was born in a small town in Sumatra. It's a one-street town. It remains a one-street town today, although much of the suburbs in the past have been developed recently. I realized that. It was, and when I was there, it was this one small town, and there was a time during the political turmoil in Indonesia, I was out of school. Some schools were closed down by the government, and for 3 years I didn't go to school. And looking back, I think those were the happiest days of my life. No assignments, no homework, no exams.
Wow. What was your favorite thing to do while you weren't doing any of those regular activities?
Oh, I was out all the time, out of the house, catching fish in the canals, catching fireflies and all sort of things.
Wow, sounds beautiful.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, they were exciting things looking back.
So from Indonesia, you pursued some studies?
Yes, I was called into full-time ministry, and I decided to train in Singapore Bible College. That was 35 years ago. And after graduation, I stayed in Singapore and was a pastor of a church for about 10 years. Yeah. So I have 10 years of pastoral ministry. It was very significant to me, especially in terms of teaching the Bible. I always have the church in mind when I teach the Bible today.
Yeah, and I believe that you spent some time then in the States and then in the UK.
Yes, during my pastoral ministry, I was given 1.5 years of study leave. So I went to the States, went to study at Master Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, and got my THM done there, and came back to serve with the church again for another 4 years before I joined Singapore Bible College, as a Old Testament faculty member. And after 10 months there, with the sponsorship of Singapore Bible College, I went to Belfast, to Queen University of Belfast to do my PhD. And I finished my PhD study in 2008 and came back to teach in Singapore Bible College.
Yeah. Now, you're an Old Testament scholar, and you'll be teaching for us a unit in the Master of Theological Studies. Now, this unit will be on which book of the Bible?
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, terrific. What do you find intriguing about this book of the Bible?
What I find intriguing is the fact that the teacher in Ecclesiastes, generally called Kohelet, has a lot to offer to us, people of modern times. And especially endearing to me, given my background, my sort of diverse background. I was born in Indonesia, and then I started my career, my ministry in Singapore, and I trained in the US and trained in the UK. All those things, have contributed a lot. to what people call pre-understanding, presupposition, and that the combination of that, helped me understand, appreciate Ecclesiastes much, much better. Yeah, given that I grew up in Oriental culture, I can identify myself with what Kohelet says. We are all the children of a modern education, enlightenment, right? We think scientifically. For example, when we talk about water, we talk about the chemical formula H2O. H2O has to be, consistent, whether it's, in a gas state or in a liquid state, it's always H2O. But Kohelet says, okay, there's this fact, although it's H2O, but it has different states. So his focus is on the so-called, not liquid state, I think gas state, vapor. That's why he picks up the idea of vapor here to describe his experience as a sage. And he begins his book with this statement: everything is vapor. Vapor of vapors, everything is vapor. And by everything, he does not mean, everything under the sun, but he means all the topics that he discusses in his book, whether it's about money, career, the pursuit of wisdom, or relationships, and even, religious life, spiritual life, righteousness, and eventually, of course, this body of his are all under this big umbrella, the thematic umbrella, or you might call it programmatic theme of vapor, which is Hebel in Hebrew. True enough, vapor is real, is there, it exists, it's not meaningless. It's not really vanity, and it's so fluctuating, that there's no single English word can translate this Hebrew term Hebel, because like vapor, Hebel is fluctuating, ever-changing, and also there's another characteristic that is vaporous, meaning ambiguous, and that's how Kohelet says we should look at things. Things are fluctuating. Today, your wisdom may bring you some reward, okay, bring you success on it. But in certain circumstances, your knowledge, your wisdom does not really bring you anything. Just like this coronavirus situation, you're out of job. Your skill is not needed, and not marketable at the moment, at least, right? So there's no guarantee that wisdom always brings you the kind of reward you expect, and it's also ambiguous. Whether it is profitable today or not profitable tomorrow, nobody know, because it's ambiguous. It's misty. Okay.
Yeah.
The same thing with our righteousness. We learn from Proverbs, for example, that if you fear the Lord, you get all kind of blessing. You can even enjoy not only prosperity but also longevity, right? Long life. But God says, no, I've seen this under the sun. The righteous die young.
Yes.
Right? The wicked live very long. So the whole thing is that God's righteousness, of what we call retribution, is actually misty. It's vaporous. So I think the term of Hevel is really very intriguing and a very, I would say, very useful symbol for describing all these life experiences of Kohelet. And probably, I think, as we are facing this COVID-19 situation of the pandemic, I think we would appreciate more the meaning of Hevel.
Yes, I was going to say it's a very opportune time to be hosting you to teach a unit on Ecclesiastes. We're in an Ecclesiastes moment with the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's a special moment. I'd like to thank BSD also for the privilege, to offer this unit next semester.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned the translation of the word Hevel and the ambiguities trying to understand what is being communicated. Many listeners to the podcast would remember perhaps the translation meaningless or vanity. But you've just recently published a journal article with the Journal for the Study of the Old Testament, exploring this word in some detail. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that publication?
Sure. Well, if you're familiar with the Ecclesiastes scholarship, you know that the word Havel has been translated, variously as maybe meaningless, like, in the NIV, vanity in the KJV and ESV. And some scholars think that it means futile, But the problem is that if you just pick one of these English terms to translate every occurrence of Havel in Ecclesiastes, you will find this problem. It is out of context. It doesn't match the context. It doesn't fit the context. Okay, so apparently Kohelet uses the term Havel in different contexts. That's why it requires different interpretation. That also shows that this Havel vapor thing is really very flexible. It's fluctuating. It depends on the context. So my article is addressing this issue instead of confining the meaning of Havel to just one single word, whether it's vanity, whether it's futile, even if you follow Michael Fox's translation, it's absurd. It does not really work. I like to look at it as a symbol with multiple meanings and multiple functions. So in different contexts, it means A, in another context maybe means B, so it requires perhaps another term to describe it, and also it functions differently. So in summary, probably, I can say that this whole article is about drawing on all these arguments that Havel is the thesis of Ecclesiastes, as well as Kohelet's rhetorical tool. I like to examine Havel's connection with Kohelet's ambiguities and contradictions. I propose here that we maybe need to understand Havel in terms of its basic meaning, that is vapor. Instead of translating it into different terms, we just stick to the idea of vapor here. And I argue that Kohelet employs this image as his rhetorical strategy because it's opaque and fluctuating character. Being opaque, Havel is an ideal symbol for delineating phenomena which are ambiguous and hard to define, whether it's wisdom, whether it's righteousness, retribution. And coupled with its capacity for infinite change, the opacity allows Havel semantic inexhaustibility, meaning you can, actually draw out a lot of things, a lot of meanings out of this simple symbol, making it a very versatile device for describing the fluctuating nature of reality. As everything is opaque and in constant change, Kohelet cannot offer advice in absolute terms and often ends up making contradictory statements.
Wow, it's fascinating, Sam. You've given us a terrific taste of your unit on interpreting Ecclesiastes Today. We, of course, expect to hold this unit in person at BST, but of course we have permission to run the unit online. I'm sure everybody would love to be here in person. But of course, if you are interested in enrolling in this unit, it is possible online. It's also possible to audit this unit. And I believe, Sam, it will be possible to take this in Hebrew or English streams. Would you like to talk about the difference that might be if one were to either audit or enroll in this unit to study Kohelet in Hebrew or study Ecclesiastes in English?
Well, we'll do both. For those who are reading the English Bible, I'll do my best, to give you, what this book has to offer as much as possible. But if you train in Hebrew, of course, we can go a lot deeper. We can also find the theology a lot richer. And I personally feel a lot more exciting, of course,
Yeah.
because it's closer to the original language. But for those who are reading English, you wouldn't lose much, really, because this book is exciting in the first place.
Yeah. Well, jump onto the BST website if you'd like further information on how you could sign up to audit or enroll in Sam's unit. We look forward to hearing more. And of course, if you'd like to get a sneak peek at Sam's article in JSOT, you'll be able to read more about his work there. Lovely to talk to you today, Sam.
Thank you.